Data.gov is another interesting initiative that we're doing through the Federal Enterprise Architecture. Dissemination of government information and data has always been a core responsibility of the government. Lots of memoranda, lots of policy, lots of circular, legal responsibilities. Matter of fact, the memo that introduced the Federal Enterprise Architecture Data Reference Model was entitled Dissemination of Public Information Using the FEA DRM. What's really exciting now is that there's an administration push on collecting the government's data sets and publishing them in a consistent way with the shared metadata definition to make it more accessible. The Data.gov website is one of the most popular that the government has out. It's gotten about 30 million hits since its inception, over 100,000 data sets. We're just at the beginning, but it's really caught the imagination of the public. Another area that's really critical is identity management and federated trust. This is an area that Global did a lot of pioneering work with Global GFIPM, Global Federated Identity and Privilege Management. We've done a lot in the federal government with HSPD 12, the smart cards. What we're doing now is putting together a modernization roadmap to tie together all the different pieces. We've shared this with NASCIO for comment from state CIOs and for potential use by the states as a model for how to bring together logical access control as well as physical access control with federated models. This is, again, another connection point with NIEM because it gets very prescriptive. The actual information exchanges that share the SAML assertions, et cetera, will eventually be reflected, not in the first version that's coming out this fall, but will eventually be reflected as NIEM IEPDs. Talked a little bit about shared modernization roadmaps. Let me just do a time check. I think I need to go a little bit fast. I talked about these three areas. I want to highlight where we're doing these. In particular, on this core mission slide, there's two areas that are of interest. One is we work closely with the program manager for the information sharing environment. Many of you have been involved with the law enforcement, homeland security, counterterrorism information sharing nexus that NIEM has been involved with. The other is the federal health architecture. You heard John earlier today talk about the Health and Human Services and their view on the NIEM. We're also looking at business service segments. These are the back office activities. Huge opportunity for us to modernize and move to the cloud in this area. The key issue is interoperability. You heard Vince Cerf talk about this morning. The approach that we're taking notionally is that we want to use standardized information exchanges using approaches like NIEM, using NIEM to be able to reflect those key information exchanges in the back office. And then finally, the enterprise service segments, and I've talked about that, the key example being the identity, credential, and access management. So with that, I wanted to close on a couple of things and then open it up to maybe one or two questions. I talked earlier about the federal segment architecture methodology, talked about NIEM. There's actually some working group that the NIEM PMO has been sponsoring to bring those two things together. So this is a call for volunteers. If there's anybody here that has a particular affinity to the federal segment architecture methodology, is a practitioner in it, is also conversant with NIEM, reach out to me, reach out to Donna, reach out to some of the different NIEM committees, try to get involved. NIEM is also a grassroots community effort, and I look back on my time with NIEM as one of the most rewarding professional times in my career, and I'd encourage folks to get involved, to get engaged as volunteers in the different NIEM committees. I think you heard that earlier this morning too, but I think it's good advice, and it's a valuable thing to consider. So with that, do we have time for some questions? Okay, so if there's any questions. No questions. Lunch must be filling. You have a question? How many folks here are from the state, local government, tribal? So, traveled from far away, probably many of you. Thanks for coming. So, okay.
I have been waiting for this part of the event for about 6 months. So, welcome to the inaugural Best of NIEM Awards Ceremony. These awards were designed to recognize NIEM practitioners or implementation projects that demonstrate how intergovernmental collaboration and innovative technology deliver results to increase transparency, improve performance, and enable civic engagement. These are pretty high bars we set for the NIEM program for the first round of the NIEM Awards. And so these projects must have been in operation for at least in the last 18 months. So not something older and not something that's going to be in operation, but things that are in production today. It's a pretty high bar. The eligible nominees were from both government and industry. They've demonstrated involvement of people or ideas, groups, on an average of no less than 5 groups coming together. So these weren't 1-2 partner projects. These are kind of big-scale projects. And all of the projects had to conform to NIEM. So not kind of like NIEM, not NIEM-like, but really conform to NIEM. And so before, there are NIEM-like people out there, I know. You walk around, I do NIEM, kinda. So, no awards for you. So before we announce the individual group awards, let me tell you collectively what this group has done. If you look at the 5 awardees that we will be talking to today, they serve or process over 16 million transactions a year. So when someone at DHS comes back and tells me, I can't do that in production, I need sub-second response, I'm going to come back and say, really? You can do that with NIEM. So they have complex environments with legacy systems, with a combination of SOA or ESBs. They're tying it together. They integrate hundreds of sources of information. And, you know, their challenges weren't small. They weren't easy, but they certainly did rise to it. And so, I don't know if we have the slideshow up. So let me start with the first group. I'm going to tell you a little bit about them, and maybe you can guess who they are. This group bravely went where no others dared. It's a slow group. Using NIEM in combination with the OASIS Emergency Data Exchange Language Standards and the Open Geospatial Consortium's Keyhole Markup Language specification, this group developed a series of information exchanges for requesting and responding to incident for information enacted during a situation, during a response. And so this first award goes to the Paragon Technology Group for the development of the EOCI, Emergency Operations Center Interconnectivity. Thank you, Cameron. So, for you NIEM-like people, I have one of these in my office. The DHS Science and Technology Regional Technology Initiatives Project, the EOCI, was developed through interactions with state, regional, local, tribal, first responders in Seattle and Cincinnati. It was well coordinated with the FEMA NIMS, the National Incident Management System, and across several working groups. And so the Paragon Group is a fast-growing company headquarters in Tyson's Corner. They are a top small business in the United States. They're one of the fastest-growing 50 businesses in Washington, D.C. So Cameron Attry of the Paragon Technology Group. Thank you. Congratulations. Who wins the next one? This group used a service-oriented architecture, SOA. Everyone knows what that means. Do I have to spell it out every time? SOA and NIEM to unleash data deeply embedded in legacy systems. When you process 6 million transactions a year through 35 transfers and 63 queries, and you want to make it better, maybe it's not working so good, what do? So this group took it to heart that it's not necessary to re-architect everything, to not re-architect a mainframe in order to share your information. So the Colorado Integrated Criminal Justice Information System identified 2 transfers that they could move without disrupting their production systems. They are currently in the process of moving all of these 35 transfers, 63 queries, into a SOA solution and expect to be done in 2010. And in federal times, that's like 2 weeks. So, do we have Chris Wallner up here? Chris is the CIO. So the CICJIS, it's a really long acronym, thank you for that, is a product of a continuing collaborative effort among the Colorado's criminal justice agencies and elected officials. Always important to get the big cats in early. In addition to the executive board, the CIO, the chief information officers, and their representatives of each department comprise a task force that work with Chris on new projects and interoperability. So just a round of applause for Chris. This group processes almost 1 million transactions a year with the public using call centers and the internet. And with some years, those transactions peak at around 3 million. And this program, the program that's going to receive this award, was really designed to ease the burden of providing assistance for the public when some of these applications come from 17 U.S. government agencies running across 60 forms. You want a little help from the federal government, we make you fill out a form, or 2, or 60. And so the Disaster Assistance Improvement Program used NIEM to develop the information exchange between FEMA's National Emergency Management Information System and the Small Business Administration's Office of Disaster Assistance as an initial start. They will be reusing this work in the remaining of the 16 connections across the federal agencies. That's 16 federal agencies more using NIEM. Excepting for the Disaster Assistance Improvement Program, I believe Scott Bowman's in the audience.